Today on the 1965 Pontiac, we're going to be upgrading the distributor with the Pertronix electronic ignition. Um, that replaces the breaker points with an electronic module. And according to this, if you use it with the coil, which we are going to do, um, we get a lot more energy out of the ignition system. And it's more stable at high RPM. Before you do that, you want to evaluate the distributor very carefully. Number one, want to make sure that the shaft and the bushings are good. There's no play in it. That's number one. Number two, you're going to evaluate the drive gear. And in a previous episode, we found that this drive gear is badly worn in. You can see it. So what we did was from ComCams, have a new drive gear, which we're going to press in with a roll pin. So those two, that's been taken care of. Number 3 and 4 is to check the advance. So the way this works is your spark advance comes from two places, depending if you want it for speed or if you want it for load. For speed, we have weights. They're centrifugal weights. They're thrown out as the distributor spins these weights. It's like the roundup, the carnival. And what it does when they spin out like that, the rotor will advance. On the other, and you want to make sure these are oiled up nice and clean. Get the oil off when you're done so it doesn't sling oil into the distributor cap. Make sure these are free and they work good. The second thing is you want to test the vacuum advance. And this is very important. Prior to around the early 1930s, the driver had to control the vacuum advance and retard. And they figured out, and one of the first cars to have a totally automatic ignition system was the Ford V8 in 1932. Prior to that, there was a lever on the steering column where the driver had to bring back the timing if you were going slow or idling, or advance the timing when you were going faster or needed power. And also when you had to start the engine, you had to retard the timing. So what we have here, we have a vacuum pump connected to the vacuum advance, connected to the plate in the distributor. As I pump it up, see the plate move? I release it, the plate goes back. This is the counterbalance to the centrifugal timing. Centrifugal timing is for speed, vacuum timing is for load. They work against each other to have just the right timing at the right time. I shouldn't even say that's using the same word twice. Having the right timing for the situation at hand. That's better. The signal that controls the vacuum advance is the vacuum engine from the engine. The vacuum is high when the engine is idling or cruising, and the vacuum is low when you need power. So that controls how much advance you have, and it works against the centrifugal advance. They work against each other so that you theoretically will always have the proper timing that you need. The faster the engine goes, the more advance you need, because the time that you need to light the fuel is shorter because you have more strokes. So there you have it. Everything works on this. The centrifugal advance, the vacuum advance, the bushings are good, and we have a new gear. So we're going to install the electronic ignition on this, and it'll be ready to put back in the vehicle. Stay tuned. So there you have it. The Pertronix igniter is installed. Got to be very careful with your wiring. I put a strain relief on it. I tie a knot so it can't be pulled all the way through. New brass gear. And you want a little bit of end play there, because this is going to rise up when the camshaft turns it. Because it's a beveled gear, it's going to rise up. Okay, make sure you have that. And there she is. Fit as a fiddle and ready to hang. Make sure you put some pre-lube on the shaft, and also put a liberal coating on the brass gear before it comes in mesh with the camshaft. My leads I like to solder. I soldered these and heat shrink them to the color code. And we're going to install that with the Pertronix flamethrower coil. So there you have it. We'll put this back into the 65 Pontiac and let it rip. Stay tuned.